So, hello everyone, I'm Jean-Louis Martins.
And Sophie Albertus.
And we are delighted to welcome you to this engine workshop. As you've seen, with Bigster, Dacia is entering a new segment and therefore targeting a new customer base with different requirements and habits. That's why Dacia is also improving its game in terms of powertrains. As you know, one of our brand markers is eco-smart, and this means for our engines that they must be both economical and ecological. Our decarbonization strategy is based on several technological bricks that you can see on this chart. All figures here are compared to a traditional petrol engine. The first figure on the left in white stands for the reduction in CO2 emissions during use. The second figure here in green stands for the carbon footprint reduction over the entire life cycle of the car. What we can see here is that the 48-volt mild hybrid reduces emissions by 10%, just like LPG. LPG that you know we call EcoG at Dacia. Also, full hybrid engines do better with an average of 20% reduction in emissions. And of course, electric cars are unbeatable with 100% reduction. But when it comes to carbon footprint, things are a bit different. Here, 48-volt mild hybrid, again with 10%, has a good result and stands for a good first tier. But did you know that LPG is aligned with full hybrid with minus 15% carbon footprint reduction? This is due to the fact that obviously there is no battery in LPG cars, and also that the carbon footprint for LPG production is lower than the one for petrol. And as for electric cars, they still have a good record with minus 60% carbon footprint, and so they are also good. They also have good results. And of course, we could combine the mild hybrid with the LPG in order to get closer to the performance of the full hybrid, and that's exactly what we are going to present you in the second part.
So let's have an overview of Bigster's engine range. Bigster offers an engine for each specific usage. So for city drivers, and for those who prefer an automatic, we have the hybrid 155. For long travelers and seeking for low running cost, we have the EcoG 140, which is at the same time an LPG and a mild hybrid engine. For more dynamic driving, we have the TC 140, and for those who want to explore off-road, we have the TC 130 4x4, which offers 5 driving modes via its transmission. The auto automatically adjusts the torque distribution from the front to the rear axle based on grip and speed. Then you have snow, optimizes handling on slippery surfaces by tailored ESC and automatic and traction control settings. Then we have mud and sand, perfect for driving on loose surfaces such as mud, sand, or the snow. And then we have off-road, provides maximum off-road performance by efficiently distributing the torque between the front and the rear wheels for more motricity and grip. And lastly, Eco reduces fuel consumption by optimizing air conditioning and performance, adjusting torque distribution for fuel efficiency while adapting to road conditions. And finally, in the middle, you have the hill descent control, activated by a central button, helps limit the speed of the vehicle on slopes without needing to use a brake, and so maintaining the torque transmitted to the wheel. So now let's deep dive into the details of our two new releases, and first with Jean-Louis and the hybrid 155.
Thank you, Sophie. So regarding this engine, it is a premiere in the Renault Group, and Dacia Bigster will be the first Renault Group model to gain this engine. It capitalizes on more than 10 years of expertise in vehicle electrification, as we launched Renault Zoe in 2012 and the first Renault E-Tech full hybrid engines in 2020. And therefore, it also capitalizes on the very important volume of E-Tech engines sold since then, more than 650,000 units. As I said, this engine is a premiere for Dacia and Renault Group, but we didn't start it from scratch. It is an improvement of the hybrid 140 that already powers Jogger and all-new Duster. It replicates its fuel efficiency and city driving pleasure with up to 80% of driving time in electric mode, and also it replicates its flexibility and silence thanks to the combination of the electric engine and the combustion engine. But for a vehicle like Bigster, of course, we needed an engine with more than 150 horsepower, hence this development. So what is the recipe for this new engine? It's simple, you only change what you need to. And that is really pragmatism in the Dacia way. So for the combustion engine, we take a 4-cylinder 1.8 liter instead of the 1.6 liter one, in order to gain more power and more torque. 107 horsepower instead of 93, and 170 Newton meters plus 20 Newton meter. This engine has direct injection, is already Euro 7 compliant, is ready for Euro 7, and also is fitted with a particulate filter. It works on the Atkinson cycle with a compression ratio of 14:1, a relatively high ratio that is pledge of its fuel efficiency. And as you know, the Atkinson cycle is known to be very economical, but has a major disadvantage: it reduces power. And so, adding an electric motor to it makes it the perfect match for an hybrid engine. And that's why we've kept the two electric motors used in the hybrid 140. So the first one, the main electric motor with its 50 horsepower and 205 Newton meters of torque, it systematically starts the car in EV mode. It also is able to drive the wheels on its own and recharges the battery during the deceleration and braking phases. The second one, the high voltage starter generator, with its 20 horsepower and 50 Newton meters, it starts the combustion engine when needed, and it eliminates also the need for synchronizers, as it automatically balances the power and the torque of the various components during gear shifting. The electric battery has been also improved with 1.4 kilowatt per hour plus 0.2 kilowatt per hour versus previously. It is now air cooled, and also it has an extended useful capacity for even more EV and hybrid drive. And it's still easy to use though, because it recharges while you drive, so there's no need to plug it in to charge it. And because it is housed under the boot floor, there is no loss of trunk volume nor roominess. Finally, to make all this work together, we have kept the principle of our innovative multi-mode gearbox that is clutchless, in fact, and we are replacing it with the variant that is already used in the Renault Austral and Espace E-Tech 200 with a greater torque capacity, 450 Newton meters of torque capacity, plus 100 versus previously, and also with optimized gear shift laws. The result is a greater responsiveness and fluidity for a better engine consistency. And this engine consistency is translated by a better responsiveness of the engine, lower revs, so the engine speed is less high, and you've got lower noise, less noise in fact, and less fuel consumption. So in short, this hybrid 155 retains the environmental and economical benefits of driving up to 80% of time in the city in electric mode and reducing fuel consumption by up to 40% in urban cycle compared with a petrol engine equivalent. Also, regarding CO2 emissions, it's the first level of emissions for the Bigster powertrain range, starting from 110 grams per kilometer and with a controlled consumption of 4.9 liters per 100 kilometer in the WLTP combined cycle. And last but not least, the engine is also able to tow up to 1 ton plus 250 kilos compared to the hybrid 140.
So before discussing the EcoG 140, let's highlight Dacia's commitment to LPG. This alternative fuel has many benefits and has gained popularity by over 50 million drivers in Europe. It's available at more than 35,000 service stations, which is about a quarter of all stations. Since 2009, Dacia has sold over 1 million LPG vehicles, capturing more than 68% of the market share, year-to-date July 24. So the figures speak for themselves. So what drives the success of this alternative fuel? The key factor, of course, is the cost. In many countries, it's about half the price of petrol, saving motorists around 40 euros per tank. And even if the LPG engine consumes about 20% more than fuel or petrol, the overall cost remains about 40% lower than that of a petrol engine. The LPG has also economical advantages, emitting 10% less CO2 and 90% fewer fine particles than petrol engines. As a result, it receives special tax incentives and other benefits in many countries. The EcoG 140 is unique because it has at the same time a bi-fuel petrol and LPG engine with a 50-liter petrol tank and a 49-liter LPG tank that replaces the spare wheel in the boot, and a starter generator powered by a 48-volt battery. The internal combustion engine is a 3-cylinder 1.2 unit that also equips the Duster, but here it's powered by, has been increased from 130 horsepower to 140 horsepower, thanks to the carryover of the turbo coming from the Rafale PHEV. Petrol output is 140 horsepower, 230 Newton meter, while LPG offers only 130 horsepower and 200 Newton meter. But don't worry, there is an automatic switch to petrol under heavy load to maximize power and torque. This powertrain features a 60 horsepower belt-driven starter generator that supports the combustion engine during startup and acceleration, enhancing performance and reducing fuel consumption before the turbo kicks in. It also recharges the battery during braking and deceleration. The battery is a 48 volt 0.8 kilowatt-hour air-cooled unit located under the front passenger seat, preserving all habitability. In summary, the EcoG 140 is at the same time a new 48 volt mild hybrid and an LPG engine, though it is an eco-friendly alternative to diesel, emitting just 150 grams of CO2 per kilometer and offering 30% lower running costs than petrol. It targets drivers seeking for a more affordable option than full hybrid. It has a high towing capacity of 1.5 tons. Its turbo and belt-driven starter generator provide the power boost at all speeds. And the vehicle can travel up to 1,450 kilometers using both tanks, 650 kilometers with LPG only. The roominess and cargo space are not impacted by the LPG tank, nor by the 48 volt battery.